Hi there, and welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're gonna make a perfect vegetable ratatouille in the Ninja Foodi. It's super easy, it's really delicious. And then we're also going to try something out very new on camera. You and I are gonna see if it works out together, so stay tuned for that. But first, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna move some of these ingredients. This is 2¼ ounces of sliced black olives in their juice. They just come in a little can, they're already sliced. You can get the whole ones and slice them up, but I just get them already sliced. And the juice, reserve the juice, that's important. And then we've got maybe a couple cups of cherry tomatoes. Now, as far as the ingredients go, I'm not actually doing traditional ratatouille because I don't have any eggplant. My eggplant in the garden just did not produce any eggplant. So I didn't pick one up from the store because I wanted to show you how versatile cooking can be, and especially when you're cooking like a vegetable dish. So traditionally, ratatouille has eggplant, zucchini, maybe some yellow squash, maybe not, tomatoes, some peppers. You could use red peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers, or green peppers, onions. That's another thing, I ran out of onions, but I did have a shallot and I had some green onions. So we're gonna improvise with those. And you can do the same thing. So whatever vegetables you have in your refrigerator that you need to use up, this is a great dish to do it with. So I also have 2 garlic cloves that I've already roasted, and the roasted garlic recipe is in my video for spaghetti, which I will link to up there. That is definitely a favorite amongst you guys for sure. I get a lot of compliments on that recipe, and it is really good. I enjoy it too. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and just cut up our vegetables, and we're gonna put them into the Ninja Foodi in the basket, okay? Because we're gonna roast them for about 30 minutes. That's just gonna get a little bit of color on them, produce a little bit of flavor, and then we're gonna get them under pressure. They go under pressure on low for 3 minutes and they're done. Okay, so size is important here in this recipe. And real quick, before I get into that, let's talk about picking out zucchini or yellow squash. These are very large. They are actually not the best for a lot of recipes. They're a little bit too big and they can tend to be a little bit tough. So like for a quick stir fry, I probably wouldn't use these. I would use a smaller zucchini, about this size. Then you can see the difference. This one isn't too bad. This one's pretty big here, the squash. But they're perfect for this dish because we're gonna cut them into 2-inch cubes and they're gonna work out perfectly. They can handle the 30-minute of browning that we're gonna do and the 3 minutes of pressure cooking. So these are perfect choice. So if you have any really large ones that you just left on the vine or you see them at the store and you pick them up, perfect recipe for them. All right, so I'm just gonna cut these up pretty simply. Just take both ends off. Cut them in half. Cut them in half again, because remember, we want to cut as much as we can with a flat surface. So I'm going to cut those in half. Then I'm going to go about 2 inches. Don't have to be exact, but you want nice big chunks in this so that they don't just disintegrate during the pressure time. Then we're just going to toss them in here. That's it. So 2 inches. There we go. That might be 1.5 inches, but those are fine. And then the tomatoes. So the tomatoes are pretty ripe. They look pretty good, but I also had a bunch of cherry tomatoes. And these are yellow cherry tomatoes, and I have a couple of red ones. Doesn't matter. You can use 4 tomatoes, or you can use a combination of cherry tomatoes and regular tomatoes. And if you didn't have any fresh, you could even use canned tomatoes if you like. But you wouldn't want to put them in at this point. Wait to put those in until you're ready to pressure cook. Big chunks. Bell pepper. This is a little baby pepper that I found in the garden, and unfortunately I had like 3 or 4 that were bigger and they were looking great, and something happened, a bug got to them or something, and so I couldn't use them. So ordinarily you would use a couple of green, red, orange peppers, whatever you prefer, but I only have the one, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that up. You can see I'm just kind of cutting around the seeds. Just makes it a little bit easier. You can use this little end piece as well, but I'm just making sure so I don't have to worry about taking all the seeds out. And we're going to dump those in too. You can see I'm keeping all of the pieces about the same size. Now, because I don't have enough peppers that I would usually put in this recipe, I'm just gonna use some Anaheim peppers. They're very mild, and I think they're gonna add a nice flavor. Again, these is totally up to you, whatever you wanna do. I'm gonna just leave the seeds in. I'm not even gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna cut them up just like that, throw them in there. The onion. Now, I didn't have an onion. I ran out of onions. I've been doing a lot of recipe testing, and I didn't want to drive 20 minutes to the store, so I'm improvising, which I always encourage you guys to do. So I have a shallot and a couple of green onions, and I'm just going to chop those up. They're going to give the same sort of flavor, but you could use a red onion. You can use a yellow onion, a white Vidalia onion, anything that you have that you want to use up. I'm just going to take the paper off the shallot here. And then I'm also going to chunk that up. Probably put it into 4s. Now, ideally, I would have a little more onion, but, you know, we work with what we have. Might be easier if I take this end off, too. There we go. All right, toss them in. Get this squash cut up, same way as I did the zucchini. I love dishes like this because it's just really just toss it all in and get to cooking. It's amazing too how the flavors of these vegetables come together. And I was shocked. It was the first time I had made ratatouille the other day. I had a bunch of vegetables. I'm like, you know what, Jeff? Let's make ratatouille. I've never made it. I was shocked at how good it was. I mean, it had a lot of nice flavor. So I thought, you know, I'm going to share it with you guys. And now to cut up the cherry tomatoes, which I just pop off the stem. I've already washed these, and I just cut them right in half. Some of my cherry tomatoes have a little slit in them. That comes when you're growing tomatoes if they go periods of time without water and then they get a lot of water. And we've had some really hot weather and then some downpours, and I think that's what happened to them. And I just cut those pieces off. Okay, there we go. So no need to preheat the Ninja Foodi for this recipe, but if you wanted to, you could. So if you wanted to cut up all the vegetables and have the Ninja Foodi preheating on broil, you could certainly do that and then just decrease your time to somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes. But it is no big deal if you just put it down for 30 minutes and don't preheat. That's no problem. Now let's add in just a little bit of seasoning, and that's just gonna be salt and pepper. You're gonna put in 1 teaspoon of salt. This is fine grind sea salt. I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle it around. We're gonna toss these vegetables halfway through so the salt will get tossed around as well. And then we want a half of a teaspoon of pepper. Now, if you wanted to do more, you certainly can. If you wanted to add other ingredients, you certainly could. But I find roasting the vegetables with salt and pepper and a little spritz of olive oil. That's probably 5 little sprays. And if you guys need a spritzer, this one is really good by EVO. It comes 2 in a pack, and I use one for like, you know, a canola oil or vegetable oil, and then one for olive oil. And I've really been happy with them. They don't clog. So far, so good. I've had it, I guess, about a month or so. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so we're gonna close the lid here and go to the broil. Now, broil is only one temperature, and it gets up to about 425 degrees. So it is the hottest setting on the Ninja Foodi. So when you want to have a really hot pot, even if you're gonna bake at a lower temperature, you can certainly start off to preheat on broil. Broil gets up 425, like I said. All right, so we're gonna go 30 minutes though. And I'm gonna flip at the 15-minute mark. All right, so there we go. So we're good to go. They'll cook for 15 minutes, then we'll flip and we'll get them, you know, flipped around, and another 15 minutes, and then we'll get them under pressure. All right, so we've been broiling for just about 15 minutes. Now I'm gonna open this pot up and we're gonna give everything a little bit of a toss, and then we're gonna spritz again with a little more of the olive oil. Not getting too much browning, but that's okay. You can see the tomatoes are starting to reduce. That's what we want. So I'm just gonna kind of bring everything that was at the bottom up. You don't have to worry, like if you smush the tomatoes, that's fine. At the end of this, they really reduce down quite a bit. All right, looks really good. So let's just give a little spritz, just maybe 2 or 3 little spritzes, and then we will go back under for 15 more minutes, then we'll get it under pressure. Now, remember that trial thing we're gonna do? So I have pasta that I started to soak. Now this is 2 ounces of pasta. I'm only gonna make 1 portion because I'm not sure if it's gonna work out. So this is campanelle pasta, which look like little trumpets to me. They're really cute. So I'm soaking them in water to find out, can we pressure cook this on low for 3 minutes above the ratatouille in a pan? This is a 2-inch by 6-inch Fat Daddy-O pan. Can I do it on low in 3 minutes and have pasta to go with my ratatouille? I don't know. Let's find out. All right, so we finished the second 15 minutes, and hopefully we've got a little char on the vegetables now. Oh my goodness, yes we do. That is beautiful. So this is what we wanna see. We wanna see this nice browning on the vegetables. That gives so much flavor. So I can't find my Pampered Chef red mitts, and I can't, well, I do know where my my Mickey Mouse gloves are. They're in the wash. So anyway, I'm gonna improvise with these. I don't really recommend them. My mom makes them, you know, I love them, but I would not recommend using them too much for the Ninja Foodi. These pans are hot. All right, so all the stuff that's in the bottom is fine. The only thing I'm gonna do is dump in the olives with the liquid, because guess what? This is our only liquid. We're not putting any kind of water or stock or anything. And I know that sounds crazy, but these vegetables are gonna give off water. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna come to pressure. But there are some tomatoes on the bottom here that have stuck, and I don't want that to stay, or we might get that water notice. So while the pot is hot, I'm just gonna pour that in. Use something that's non-stick. I'm just gonna use these tongs since I was using them earlier. And I'm just gonna go along the bottom and remove those little pieces of tomato and the little seeds that have stuck. And that's good. All right, that looks great. So if for some reason you do get the water notice, anytime you're cooking anything and you think, oh my gosh, I've got enough water in there, why am I getting the water notice? It's probably because something is stuck to the bottom of the pot. This can happen especially when you're cooking starchy foods. Like I've done some potatoes, and just because I had the russets down, and russets are very starchy, some of the starch came out got to the bottom of the pot, it stuck. Ninja Foodi says, oh, I don't have enough water, I'm burning, and produces that water notice. So it's not always that you need more water, sometimes, or liquid. Sometimes it's that something's stuck to the bottom. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just dump these vegetables right into the pot. Let me get the rest out here. These tomatoes have like blistered really nicely. Oh, this is gonna be delicious. Let me get this all out. And then I wanna make sure I get these onions, since I kind of skimped the recipe with onions, I wanna make sure I get every little bit of that in there. Then we're gonna put in just another couple of little seasonings. Now I'm using fresh herbs. You could, well, actually I'm using a combination of fresh and dried herbs. You can use all dried if you'd like. I don't recommend using fresh basil in this. So if you wanted to use all fresh, I really do recommend using dried basil in this dish because the basil's not gonna hold up too well under pressure. Basil can be a little finicky sometimes. Now, if you wanted to garnish with fresh basil, that would be perfect. But to put into the pressure cooker, I would definitely use dried basil. So what I'm gonna do is just put a half of a teaspoon in. I'm just gonna sprinkle that around. We've already got our salt and pepper in there. We are gonna add a little bit of this vegetable base. Now, you could use a different kind. You could use, I think Better Than Bouillon has some. You could use a chicken base if you prefer, but I'm gonna keep it with vegetable, just vegetables. So I'm gonna put in a half of a teaspoon. That's good. The vegetable base from Miners is fantastic. I really recommend it. And I'm gonna put just a pinch of red pepper flakes. Totally optional. The last time I made the recipe, I think I did about 1/4 of a teaspoon. That was a bit much, so I'm just gonna put in just a pinch, so probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then of course, you know, garlic. We have to have garlic. I chose to put in roasted garlic. I like roasted garlic. It gives a great flavor with the vegetables, but you could put in minced garlic if you'd like, if you want it to be a little more pungent, or you could just peel the cloves, smash them, and throw them in. That would be fine too. But I roasted mine, and I'm just gonna squeeze these out here. Now, sometimes they squeeze out really nice. These are on the smaller side of bulbs of garlic, so they're not squeezing out quite as nicely as a nice large bulb does. I just squeeze them. Doesn't matter if they mush up or anything. You don't have to have them whole because they're gonna combine with the vegetables anyway. And some of them don't even have, like when I cut the top off, I didn't cut the top off some of the cloves. That's fine. They still are perfectly cooked. All right, next one. Now you could actually add in 2, 3, 4, 5 bulbs of garlic. That doesn't matter. But 2 will be sufficient. Make sure I get every last little bit out. Okay, perfect. Now I do those 3, 4 at a time in the Ninja Foodi. And real quick, I'll just recap how you roast garlic, just so you don't have to check out the spaghetti recipe. Cut off the tops of the garlic bulbs, put them in a foil packet. So you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just drizzle with a little bit of olive oil, put it in the Ninja Foodi on the rack, the foil closed up, on the rack, low position, 325 for 35 minutes, perfectly roasted garlic. Set it and forget it. I love that. All right, now I have a little oregano. This is fresh from the garden. Now you could use dried oregano. If you were gonna use dried, I'd probably keep it at about 1/4 of a teaspoon, maybe 1/2 of a teaspoon at the most. And I'm just gonna put that in. I'm just simply going along the stem and just taking these little pieces off. I don't want the stems in this. Oftentimes when I'm cooking with fresh herbs, I'll just throw in the stems. But for this, I really want them to be off. So I'm just gonna peel them off. I'm gonna save just a little bit for garnish. And then what I have here is just English thyme. You could use lemon thyme if you wanted, or whatever kind of thyme. You could use dried thyme as well. I'm gonna put in about 3 to 4 sprigs of the thyme. And I'm doing the same thing. So taking 1 sprig, holding it here, and just running my fingers, and you'll get them all off. Thyme and oregano are some of the easiest fresh herbs to deal with when you want to put them in your dishes. And they're easy to grow too. And then I'm going to save some of this for garnish as well. So, and if the little small stems get in there at all, don't worry about it. They're not going to make any difference. It's the harder, woodier ones you don't really want to bite into. So 3 to 4 sprigs is plenty. I'm going to use one more in there, and then I will keep the rest for some garnish for on top. All right, now let's get to that experiment. So we're gonna put these vegetables under pressure, low pressure, for 3 minutes. Let's see if we can cook some pasta at the same time. I have not tried this, guys, so we're gonna learn together whether this works or not. I'm gonna put the rack in and kind of just nestle it down in there so it's touching the bottom so we have enough clearance for our pan. Now, you will need a 2-inch pan for this. 3-inch pan would be too high, so definitely a 2-inch pan. And in here, I have 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 garlic clove. We're trying something new. I don't know. It might be great. It might not. So I'm going to take 1 cup of fresh water, just tap water. And these, of course, have been soaking. So it's the Campanile pasta, which I think are a really cute design. And they have been soaking the entire time that we've been cooking this. So, and a little bit before this. So probably about 45 minutes with the prep and then the broiling of the vegetables. So I'm going to take these out. Now, I don't know. I'm not using the starch water. I mean, I could, I guess, but I think for this experiment, I want to try it with fresh water because I don't want them to stick together too much. And we're going to see if we can cook this in 3 minutes. So this is fun, right? I like experimenting. I do it all the time, but this is the first time I'm doing it on camera, and I think it's kind of fun. All right, so we're gonna put the pressure lid on, and even though you see this is raised up just a little bit, it's not gonna create a problem. But what I recommend is that you make sure that your pans are to the front rather than towards the back where the pressure release valves are. It just helps make sure that everything goes under pressure and releases correctly. I also recommend every single time you pressure cook, take your fingers and go around and make sure that the ring is pushed down all the way. They do migrate up a little bit, and that is the #1 reason for problems going under pressure, is that silicone ring is not in place. And you will know it pretty quickly because you'll start to see steam coming out the sides. And that is the first thing you want to check. But it's better to prevent than to have to fix it afterwards because you have to do an immediate release, let it cool down, you know, then fix the ring and start over. So we want to try to prevent it. So just run your fingers around, make sure it's seated well in those grooves. Make sure the black valve is to the seal. Now, turn the Ninja Foodi on and we'll go to pressure. We're gonna go to low. It's gonna be 3 minutes. And we hit start. And there we go. We will do an immediate release after the time is up. And then we'll plate, find out if that pasta cooked, and get to eating some ratatouille. All right, so the 3 minutes of low pressure just ended, and we're gonna do an immediate release. All right, so the red button has depressed. That means that we can open up the lid, do that away from you so the steam doesn't come towards your face. And oh, I'm kind of excited. I think that pasta might have actually cooked. All right. Now, there's a lot of water in it, so that's interesting. So I would definitely decrease the amount of water. It is cooked. In fact, I think it's overcooked, so that's really interesting. So maybe I would soak it just a little less time. All right, so I'm using, these are not the right thing, guys. Don't try this at home. Okay, so I'm gonna set that over there, remove the rack. Now, ratatouille is usually served warm, room temperature, or cold, but not necessarily piping hot. So we're gonna give it just a few minutes to kind of settle down a little bit. I'm just gonna turn this around and flip the vegetables around. It smells amazing. It looks perfect. You can see that the large vegetables still kept their shape. so it doesn't look like just small little pieces of color on your plate. You're actually gonna look like you're eating something. So while this just cools down just a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and get the pasta strained on the plate, put some vegetables on, we'll give it a taste, and we'll see how it all turned out. All right, so the pasta is just draining back in that Fat Daddy-O pan, and the ratatouille's cooled down a little bit, so I'm gonna give it a taste. Now, you can serve the ratatouille over pasta like I'm gonna do, but traditionally it's a side dish. The other night I made it with some pork chops that I grilled right on the top on the rack, and it was a really nice dinner. So this is a very healthy meal for you to put together, and it really is quick in the Ninja Foodi. I'm real happy with my Ninja Foodi. I think you guys know that. All right, so let's put some of this pasta on the plate. And I'm gonna taste it first. Okay, let's see did the butter do anything? Now, I didn't salt it. I probably should have done that. And I have 1 clove of smashed garlic in there. So let's see, did it impart any flavor? A little bit, not much. A little bit though. Now, the noodles are a little overcooked for me, but they're certainly passable. Like, they're not total mush. They still have a little bit of bite, but they're just a little past al dente. So maybe a little less soaking time. But this is a great trick now. So if you have something that's gonna be on low pressure and for less time than pasta takes, you can pre-soak it a little bit and it cooks quicker. Who knew? Okay, so let's get some of this out here. It looks good. I love fresh vegetables. All right, make sure I have, let me get some of the onion there and a pepper. Oh, and you know what I wanted to see if I could find is that one of those like hotter pepper. Well, they're not hot, but the mild peppers. So let's see what that is like. Okay, great. Now, what I'm gonna do is just turn the Ninja Foodi off. It doesn't need to stay on the keep warm. And I'm gonna put a little Parmesan cheese on mine. That's not traditional either, but I'm not a traditional person. So I'm gonna put a little Parmesan cheese and have a great little lunch. You could put fresh black cracked pepper. You could put, you know, anything on it that you'd like. All right, let's dig in. I'm gonna try that pepper with a piece of pasta. Wow. I mean, for pressure cooking vegetables, these are amazing. And it's because we did the broil first. I mean, this one still has like it's not mushy at all. All right, let's try this zucchini. It looks great. Wow. A little tomato. A little bit more of the pasta with the tomato. This is delicious, guys. I am so excited about this, and especially that we can make pasta right on top. How perfect. If you have never had ratatouille before, it is surprisingly delicious. The flavors of these vegetables are outstanding. Oh, I just love everything about it. I can't say enough good things about it. It's so simple, very basic. Again, you know, customize it however you like, but the flavors are amazing. I really like the black olives in there too. They add just another layer of flavor. Well, let me get that onion. Let's see what that tastes like. You know, I think I like those green onions better, and that's a great way to use up the white part that you don't, you know, always use in dishes. So if you have the white part left over, don't throw them away. Chop them up, make some ratatouille.